Hey everyone, Brian here, back with the games I beat for September and October of 2021, going into the end of fall, or the end of summer, beginning of fall. And we'll start off with the Super Nintendo game that I had as a kid, and this is Axelay. One of the few shooters, I said before, I don't have a lot of shooter experience. I find a lot of them intimidating. This one I had as a kid, like I said, and I did beat it on easy. And this time I went through on normal and beat it, and it was quite the challenge for me, but I did overcome it, and that feels good. I don't have a lot of shooter experience, like I said, but Axelay is one where I can say that it looks and sounds amazing. It's by Konami, so it's really good. I think it came out around 92, 93. It has a mixture of tops, vertical shooters, and horizontal stages, so it alternates vertical, horizontal, vertical, horizontal. The vertical shooter stages have a cool Mode 7 warping effect where you see the horizon fold into the distance, almost like the Earth, the planet, is round. The bosses in this game are great. They're huge, big sprites that take up the entire screen. The soundtrack's amazing. It's not one-hit deaths, but you do pick your weapon loadout at the beginning, and after each level you get a new weapon type, which you select for the next level. If you get hit, you do lose one of those weapons, and you have a total of 3 weapons, and you can switch to them at any point with a different button that you can set in the options menu. There are 3 difficulty menus from the start: easy, normal, and hard. With I think another after you beat hard, you get another like expert mode or something, I believe. The easy path is fun. Pretty much anybody, not anybody, but start with that, and the normal path cranks it up a bit. I've never tried hard. The bosses you see here, this guy here is a boss on like the 5th level. Here's your ship. The opening is like a cold open where you see like this alien invasion invade your planet, and you see a guy look at this watch of his family, and he closes it, and then the music beat hits, and then it goes into this amazing intro. Yeah, the soundtrack on this game is amazing. It's a very, very good game, and one I'm highly glad that I beat finally on normal. Next up, these are in pretty much order of I beat them too. So this would be early September. I beat this one, Axelay. Next up is Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 2. This came out, I think, the beginning of the year. I'm not sure when, but it came out about a year ago or so. But I wanted a physical release, so I waited for a long time to get it. I'm glad I did. It's a very good game. So Bloodstained Curse of the Moon 1 is like a 16-bit spin-off or 8-bit spin-off of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I ended up liking that quite a bit, and maybe even more than Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. The sequel picks up with Zangetsu as the main character, and each level you fight, you unlock a new character. This time there's, I believe, Miriam, I think, is in this. Let me open this up and see my memories, because there's an instruction book in here. So the characters are Zangetsu, you start with. Then you beat a level and you get, in no order, Dominique, who has like a spear and she can bounce up on candles and off of enemies with the down in your attack. And her range is pretty good. Then you have Robert, who's this... So I'll just show in the instruction manual who the characters are. Main character is Zangetsu. He's your normal character, has a sword, almost like a Trevor Belmont kind of feel to him from Castlevania. Dominique, who I just talked about with the spear. Robert, who is a friend of Zangetsu in the war, they said. He has like ranged gun weapons. He can't jump too good and doesn't have too good a health. He can bounce off of walls, like Ninja Gaiden style bounce off of walls, jump off of walls. Hachi, who is like a corgi. They don't show him, but he's a corgi dog in a mech suit. So this is the mech suit. And he has invulnerability against spikes and certain poison, water, and stuff. And he has an ability to be invincible, and it uses your weapon power. He's very good for bosses. Miriam, who is one of my favorite to play as. She has a good jump. She can slide, and she can also use like a whip. So she plays like your typical Simon Belmont character. And Alfred, who's like your wizard. So these are ones. So Alfred is from Miriam, and Alfred are from the original Curse of the Moon. He's like a wizard, like Sypha from Castlevania 3. He can do different magical attacks. And Jeeble, who's like a bat, like Alucard from Castlevania 3. He can transform into the bat and fly over obstacles. So you play the game first, and you unlock Zangetsu, where you start with Zangetsu, then you unlock Dominique, Robert, Hachi, and then those are the main characters that you play with. And then when you beat the game, you find out that the original characters from Curse of the Moon 1 come back, and you play as with them, those being Miriam, Alfred, and Jeeble. Then when you beat that game, you find out there's like a secret moon army that you got to go fight, and then you beat that, and then there's like a total of like 5 different playthroughs you can do. I think I did 4 or so. The last being like this solo mode that you have to unlock. But you can beat it in a number of different ways. It's very fun. The final level is pretty tough. It has a good challenge, but the music and sound is great. It plays great. If you like classic Castlevania, highly recommend this game. I think it probably isn't too expensive. I don't know if it is or not. But I like the first one a little bit better, but this one's a good follow-up. The soundtrack's good, plays well. Good game. I like it. If we're not getting classic Castlevania, which is my favorite style, I'm glad we're still getting something like it. And Inti Creates has done a great job with this game, with this game series. Next up, we have Star Fox Assault. So this game surprised me. I really enjoyed this game. There's 3 paths, bronze, silver, and gold. I played the bronze path and didn't have too bad of a time. It's a really different story than what I'm used to in Star Fox. Usually, my favorite is Star Fox on the Super Nintendo and Star Fox Zero on the Wii U. Strangely enough, a lot of people don't like that game, but I really like it. And those are basically retellings of the same story. This is a completely different story that tells about this parasitic organism that you have to fight, and introduces new characters. And the graphics are amazing. You start off in the R-Wing, and it looks amazing. Controls great, and then you go on land, and there's foot missions where you kind of control like a vehicle. So it's like you're just a human vehicle, and you have to beat objectives like destroy certain bases and stuff. So the objectives you got to do on the on-foot missions aren't that complicated. They're just rank up to destroy A, destroy B, C, in a set number or letter or a set order up until the last, and then you move on to the next area, which could be another on-foot. Usually it's like a assault or a vehicle like a Landmaster or your R-Wing again, and it mixes those up. While telling a pretty decent story. And I think the story of this game continued in the Game Boy Advance Command. I'm not sure, though. I was very surprised with this game. It's pretty fun. It's done by Namco. And he did a good job. I do quite enjoy this game. Very pleasantly surprised by Star Fox Assault. Plays well. It's fast-paced. The R-Wings parts are fabulous. The on-foot parts are okay. They're not my favorite. They kind of reminded me of Star Fox 64, how you could enter a code or get a code somehow and do split-screen multiplayer, and you could play on foot in Star Fox 64. I played most of that. I played more Star Fox 64 playing multiplayer than the single player. But I did. But this is like that, and it's a good game. Very good game. Next up, we have Astro Boy, the Omega Factor. I don't know if you can see that. For the Game Boy Advance, this is a Treasure-developed, Sega-published game. Treasure games, for me, I'm kind of hit or miss on them. I don't really care for... I haven't the ones I played are Wario World on the GameCube, and I really like that game. It's like a Wario beat 'em up game. It's not too long, doesn't overstay its welcome. It's fun to beat up stuff as Wario. It's a fun 3D beat 'em up. Astro Boy is a side-scrolling shooter with you can upgrade your abilities by finding people who increase your personality, the Omega factor. When you meet them, you incorporate personality traits to improve yourself, and you can, once you get enough, you can improve your like weapons and life and magical abilities or special weapon abilities and different things. There's like 8 or so different things you could increase, and you can't max them out the first playthrough. You have to play through twice. It's fast-paced. The weapons you can select, I forget how it's different button combinations or different buttons. You have like a super blaster that fills up the whole screen you can level up. You have like a shot where he spins around, which you can level up. You have like this charge dash fly ability that flies through everything on the screen you can level up. You can level up your health and such. There's multiple paths you can find in the stages, so it's kind of cool like that to find different upgrades. You play through once, and then the story continues. You can play through again and get a different ending. Very fun game. Treasure games kind of, I think they throw a lot of stuff at you, and sometimes I can't really get into them because of that. This one, I think it's not too bad. I can't comment because I didn't play many treasure games, but this one is pretty good. I think stick with it, and once you get past the first ending, you'll pretty much you'll know if you want to go through again. And it's a fun game, fun shooter. It's really, really good. Highly recommend it if you can find it. Next up for Game Boy Advance, we have Banjo Kazooie Grunty's Revenge. I was surprised how much I liked this game. It's basically a Banjo-Kazooie game, 3D platformer, in a 2D top-down Game Boy Advance format. It's not too long. It has like themed worlds. You get Jinjos, you get Jiggies. The music's good, plays good. Kind of sometimes it's hard to tell what to jump off of because it's not true 3D, so stuff's hidden behind like 2D stuff. But it's very fun. If you're looking for more Banjo-Kazooie and you played Banjo-Kazooie 2E a lot and you want to play something different, if you haven't played this game, give it a shot. It's pretty fun. I highly recommend it. I was very surprised with this game as well. Finally on Game Boy Advance, to wrap up the Game Boy Advance games I beat, this is Super Ghouls and Ghosts on the Game Boy Advance, and this is a port of the Super Nintendo 1991 launch title, Super Ghouls and Ghosts. This has that game in it, unchanged, where you got to go through twice. It also has, depending on what armor you finish with, you can pick that path or a top path, which is basically a harder path, or I think maybe in the bottom path, which is the game unchanged as it was on the Super Nintendo. I could have those mixed up. It could be top is normal and bottom is hard, or bottom's normal, top's hard. So depending if you finish with gold armor or better, you can pick between the bottom or one path or the other. I forget what it is. Gold armor or better, silver armor or worse or something. You go on the one route. So the middle path is why this game is so cool. The middle path is an arranged version of Ghosts and Goblins levels and Ghouls and Ghosts levels mixed up. So you have levels from the Genesis game, or the arcade Ghosts and Goblins, or you have the arcade Ghouls and Ghosts and Goblins, and you have the Super Nintendo mixed in. So it's a completely different playthrough, and you only have to play through it once. Normally in Ghouls and Ghosts, or Ghosts and Goblins, you have to go through twice. If you do the middle path, you play through once and beat it, and it also has levels from the Genesis Ghouls and Ghosts game, which is kind of cool. It is harder to get that, so to get that middle path, you have to finish with green bronze armor or better. So that means you have to kind of get pretty decent at the level to finish. But then you can pick the middle path and you just beat it once and you see all those cool reimagined levels. The game is zoomed in and it's difficult like Super Ghouls and Ghosts. but it does have a save, which is nice, so you can come back to where you're at. Unlimited continues, like and Ghosts and Goblins and Ghouls and Ghosts, which is a blessing. So yeah, this is a good port, and the arrange mode is what makes it stand out. Highly recommend. Even if you just watch the arrange mode, if you played Super Ghouls and Ghosts and Goblins, brushy range mode, it's kind of cool that they added that into that. Now we're getting into October, and I started October with Cold Fear. This is on the Xbox. I don't play a lot of horror games. This is like a Resident Evil 4 type over-the-shoulder shooter. It came out around the same time. You're on a ship, and something goes wrong, and it gets infected by like zombie people, and you basically have to shoot them. You find out the bad guy is this daughter who you find earlier on, who's they locked in the storage that you let out, and then you escape the ship and you go on an island and research facility, and then you fight the father in a battle, and then you escape. There's jump scares throughout the game, and at the beginning it's very scary, but then you learn what's coming and it's not as scary. It looks very cool. It has a soundtrack by a real band, I think. I'm not sure who the band is, like a metal band. Oh no, it has a Marilyn Manson song at the end. That's what I was thinking of. The soundtrack, I don't know if it was by Marilyn Manson, but it's different. I don't know who it's by. Might be original game music. I'm not sure. But it's a decent game. I don't think it's too expensive. It was on the PS2 and Xbox as well. You see here, you just have like a picture or some artwork. There's a ship map, which there's no map in this game, which is kind of bad. So you have to rely on this map for the first part, half of the game. There's where you're at. Tell your items. You can shoot like stuffed barrels, electrical, or there's like fire extinguishers to blow up. Inventory, HUD, some enemies and stuff. It's a decent game. It's on PS2, Windows, PC, and Xbox as well. I don't think it's on GameCube, but it's an okay game. If you want something more different than what you normally play, like or you want a different experience, you don't play a lot of scary games, that's pretty good. If you like Resident Evil 4, it plays similar to that. Next up, we have Metroid Dread. This is actually the Metroid 5. So there was Metroid on NES, Metroid 2 on Game Boy, Metroid Fusion on Game Boy Advance, and this is finally... Metroid Fusion came out in 2002. So this is Metroid Dread. Metroid 5 came out 21 years later. Is that right? 19 years later. So this takes place directly after that, and it involves Metroid Fusion. So if you kind of played Metroid Fusion, you kind of remember some parts of that. You'll remember that in here. Very fun game. It plays the best out of any Metroid I've ever played. It just feels so fun to play. The map is great. It details everything that you can find. So if you want to go 100%, this is probably the easiest Metroid to find everything that I've played. The graphics are great. The music is okay. I wasn't too thrilled with the soundtrack. The bosses are fantastic. Like, they'll kick your butt at first, but you'll get better and better. And they start you right outside, right near the boss, so it's never like, oh, I gotta backtrack all this way. It's always right there, boom, and then you get better and better, and you just destroy the boss. Very great bosses. It's gated, so you can't really backtrack that much. You can backtrack to a point, and then they block where you can go. You have to progress. So it's more gated than a lot of Metroids, but it still feels open. It's funny to say that. There's difficulties, normal and hard, and depending on the time you beat the game, you get a different ending. But the ending's not really that different. You just unlock different pictures. So if you beat it in, I think it's under 10 hours, under 10, under 7, under 4, I think, you get 3 different artworks. And then if you beat it on hard, same, under 10, 7, 4, I think, you get 3 different more artworks. I think they're Other M, on normal it's like Other M, Fusion, or Super Other M, Fusion or something, and then you unlock the other ones. It's like super, I forget, but it's like all the games in a series that you can unlock from beating on different times and different difficulties. I played this game a lot. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I just wanted to keep playing it. I did beat it on, unlocked everything. I completed it, beat all difficulties, got all the pictures, beat it in hard in under 4 hours even. It's hard at first, but once you get into it, you get better and better and better, and you can move effortlessly around in the environments with the moves that you get. You will be using your shoulder buttons a lot, and it'll become second nature to just swing and zap around. Yeah, it's a very good game. The only thing I don't like about it is I don't really care for the Emmy parts where you have to they're big escape rooms. You got to just avoid and run past. They're kind of slow down the game for me. I didn't care for those. They grew on me a little bit, but I never quite loved them. There's a lot of cutscenes, like brief, like she'll walk into a room and just shove her hand in this computer, and that's kind of weird. Like, does her gun have like a USB drive on it? Are they designed just for her? Like, she can just stick her arm cannon in there and upload stuff. That's kind of weird. What else? The music, like I said, is not great. Yeah, I'm trying to think of things I don't. Those are the things that stick out to me. And some of the items you get, like you get the plasma beam close to like the you get like the plasma missiles close to the other missile, or you get like weapons close to each other, so you never really get to. It seems like it throws a lot of upgrades at you near the end, and you never really get to use the ones before you upgrade a lot. So yeah, that's Metroid Dread. It's very fun. It's cool that we got a sequel, Metroid 5, in 2021. I would have never thought we would have got that. Yeah, I hope we get more 2D Metroids. I love these type of games. They're very fun. And Metroid is like one of the originators of that genre. Next up, we have Silent Hill Shattered Memories. This is another scary game. This is, from what I understand, it's a retelling of Silent Hill on the PlayStation. You play as a dad who's looking for his lost daughter. And you play through, and after a while, it's like behind the shoulder. You can't really attack anything. You just go and find keys to open doors to find like tales, memories of these things that you read. And you get phone calls on this like cell phone and messages that you read, and they tell the story. And then all of a sudden, the whole town of Silent Hill gets frozen, and then these things chase you, and then you run from them basically, and you kind of do like parkour, like slide under, push stuff down to slow them down. And then if you hit down on the Wii remote, you can look behind you and see if they're behind you. So there's a dedicated look behind you and freak out button. And basically you get through that, get to the next part, and it just progresses the story. It's just basically get items, open keys, find messages, get the story, and then between bits and chapters, you're with a therapist, and he tells you, okay, color this picture of a family in the house, and then when you're done, let me know, or put these things in order from something to something, or tell me about this, and then depending on that is the ending you get. And the ending's quite a big twist that I quite like. It was an okay game. It's not great. I did sadly, I accidentally deleted my save, but this isn't a too long game. I think it took me about 10 hours to beat. It's pretty good. It's my first Silent Hill game. I'd like to play more sometime. A lot of people, from when I was looking at this game, because when I beat a game, I like to look up on YouTube like what people thought of it, people playing it. It didn't seem like people were too thrilled about this, but it uses the Wii remote controls very well. So if you get you look around with the Wii remote, you move with the thumbstick. If something grabs you, so nothing slashes at you, stuff jumps on you, these little creatures, and if you want to shove them off, you have to shake the Wii remote to the right if they're on your right shoulder, left if you're on the right shoulder, or on your back you shake the Wii remote back, and it'll shove them off. So sometimes I'm like really shaking it, and that's kind of neat or not, depending on if you like motion controls or not. But it's a decent game. Finally, we have the Castlevania Collection. This includes Castlevania, Simon's Quest, Castlevania 2, Castlevania 3 Draculas Curse, Super Castlevania 4, Castlevania Bloodlines, Kid Dracula, and the 2 Game Boy games, Castlevania Adventure, Castlevania Belmont's Revenge. It does not include Castlevania Legends on the Game Boy, though. You can see here the best first step anyone to take into the world of Castlevania and fight against Dracula. And I kind of agree with that. If you never played a Castlevania game and you're kind of intimidated by them, this goes on sale a lot for $10. You can pick it up. And it's very much worth it if you like action platformers. They have save states, so you can save at certain points and not have to trek back to those bosses, which I used in these playthroughs. So if you're intimidated by that, you still have your unlimited continues, but you can put a save state before a boss, so you're not traversing a level you beat a million times and you know you can beat. You can just save state it and move on, which is a godsend. I like that. The games are hard, but not impossible. You get better at them, and they're fun enough that if you like that, you'll want to get better, and you'll beat them all in no time if you enjoy them. The first game, Castlevania, is a game I am very fond of. It's one of the first, when I got my NES in 1988 in 3rd grade, after seeing it at a friend's house, it was one of the first games I got for it. I got like Super Mario Bros. 2, Castlevania, and Super Mario Bros. Duck Hunt, which came with it. Love this game to death. It plays very deliberate. The controls are very deliberate, so you have to get used to them, and once you do, it's very fun and addicting. The theme, the graphics, the music is great. Probably out of the 3 on the NES, it goes between this one and the 3rd one. The 3rd one's great, which I'll get to, but I really like the first one. Simon's Quest, I didn't have this game. My cousin had this game, so that's where I played it. I don't know. There's a lot of stuff in this game that people say is cryptic, and it is. But back then, everybody I knew what to do with these cliffs. So there's a part where you kneel with a crystal and the tornado comes, or you kneel down with the crystal and it lowers the screen and you can go below a lake. And it's very cryptic. But it's funny that everybody who played that game back then, I remember, knew how to do that. And I don't know how they did, probably in magazines. It's readily available how to get past that. So it wasn't really a problem for me, because I somehow knew that. But playing it today, that knowledge isn't quite as known unless you look it up or you didn't grow up with it. So that's become a very sticking point for people to say it's very cryptic. And it is, but at the time it was readily available, and if you played Nintendo, which was everywhere, you knew that. Somehow. It's weird to explain, but it was like common knowledge. I don't know how to explain that. Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse. Got this game. It came out in 1990, I think. Also had this game. Didn't have Simon's Quest. Much more bigger game. More levels. They did reuse a lot of stuff, a lot of bosses in this game. So there's like 3 paths and 3 people you can fight. There's Grant Dynasty on the clock tower. His path is normal mode almost. If you go up and get him and follow up around his area. And then there's also Sypha, who's like easier mode. She's like a wizard who does magic. Grant can climb on walls, so if you want to go like climb below a wall and skip a part, you can do that. Sypha is like a wizard who can freeze projectiles and enemies. She has fire magic. She can't take a lot of damage. You can go on a path with her and be a little bit more easier. And then there's also the more difficult path, which is if you go down the lower routes the whole way to Dracula's castle. You go like in a dungeon and work your way back up to the castle. Sypha's route is like on a ship. You take the ship across the moat to get there, and it's really cool how it interacts. It shows you on the map going these different locations. Like when you get on the ship, it shows it going across the map between stages. You get Grant and you go down the clock tower. The soundtrack, the graphics are good. It's very long, very challenging, especially if you go Alucard's route in the dungeons and pick him up. He can turn into a bat and fly and skip parts, and he has like a 3 fireball shot that you upgrade. And all of the characters upgrade their weapons with getting the like whip and dagger symbols, which is like a candle with whips around it with daggers in them. I think that's what it is. So it has good replayability. It's very fun. It's very, very tough. I think even if you find the easy mode, which aren't linked, which is like crossing the ship and going straight there, it skips a lot of things with Sypha. It's still challenging. That's the one bad thing about this game. It's not, unless you play it a lot, it's going to seem like, wow, this game is too hard. And it is kind of too challenging, I think, for some people. But if you stick with it, you'll learn the stages, learn the nuances of it, and you'll enjoy it quite a bit. And this is a perfect stage to try Draculas Curse. If you're kind of scared off of the difficulty, use save states. Heck, I use save states in this one. At boss points where I don't want to restart this boss. I know the level is long. When I played this game, I know, okay, if I die to this boss, which I will, I'm going to have to do the whole stage block over, and it's going to be terrible. Just throw a save state up there. Save yourself some time and frustration. That's what it's made for. It's made, and it's put in here to do that. Get to an area, okay, this is tough, throw a save state up, so I don't have to go back, do that. All of these games, use a save state if you want to. However you want to. If you don't want to, don't do it. If you don't do it. Play it how you want to play it. The game is for you to enjoy. So, yeah, Draculas Curse, if you're scared off by it, then try it out again. Give it another shot. I highly recommend Castlevania 3. And I was saying between 1, 2, and 3, my favorite would go between 1 and 3, depending on when you ask me. Sometimes I like the simplicity and just fun bosses of Castlevania 1. Sometimes I want the more in-depth, longer, more beefier Castlevania 3. Simon's Quest is very good as well. If you use a guide for Simon's Quest, if you don't know if you don't know the cryptic stuff, it plays like a RPG Castlevania game, much like Zelda 2 plays like an RPG Zelda game. Super Castlevania 4 is when I got my Super Nintendo in November '91. I got this for that following Christmas. I remember asking for it, and when it got to around Christmas time, I would look around the house for my presents. And I found this game. We had in the basement, unfinished basement, we had a fruit cellar off to the side, and there was always spiders and stuff in there that would get in there. And I was always scared to go in there. And we had this old shag carpet rug, because we had shag carpet growing up. If you don't know what shag carpet is, it's this bright blue color or other color that's very like pieces of big fabric just sticking out. Elvis, I think, if you think of the 70s, that's shag carpet. You can so we had old carpet from when our house was built, put carpet in, and underneath the shag carpet I looked, and there I saw Super Castlevania 4 sticking out in the shrink wrap. I took it out, I looked at it. I don't think I opened it, but I was so excited because I knew I was getting that. I couldn't wait. So it was cool. Love this game. I think Super Castlevania 4 is probably the one to play if you're new to Castlevania and you want to experience it. It's a retelling of 1, a more fair... I wouldn't say fair, because Castlevania 1 is fair once you learn how to play it. This is the control in this. You can control yourself in the air. You can walk up. You can hit the shoulder button to throw your weapons, so you don't have to worry about hitting up near a stair and your attack button and climbing the stair instead of throwing your weapons. The control in this game, you can crouch walk, you can walk backwards up the stairs or moonwalk. You have your whip can go in all 8 directions. You can like hold it in front of you for a shield. You can wiggle it around to hit projectiles. It's just so fun to play. It looks great. It sounds so unique to other Castlevania games and Super Nintendo games in general. It's very jazzy. It's very different soundtrack, but it's amazing soundtrack. It's fun. It's difficult, but not too overbearingly hard. It's just fantastic game. Probably start with this one. Castlevania Bloodlines on the Genesis. I didn't play this one until, I don't think I ever played this one to the end until 2019, 2018, something around there. You can play as 2 characters. You play as John Morris or Eric Lecard. John Morris is a descendant of the Belmonts with Vampire Killer. He plays with a whip. You can shoot it up in the air and latch on to things and ceiling and swing to reach places across gaps and stuff. You also have a different kind of items, like when you use your weapons. If you have you have 4 hearts or more, you can do like a hit up in your attack, your special button. You'll do like a special, more powerful attack. Eric Lecard has a spear, and he also, if you duck and hold your jump button, you'll charge your jump, and you can jump super high, and you're invincible during that jump. You can use that to reach different areas, and depending on who you're playing, you can reach different areas. So the first time I played it on the Genesis was I went through as John Morris, and that was more hard. I think the more harder path. This time I went as Eric Lecard, and he can just skip parts because he can jump really high. It sounds amazing. The soundtrack in this game is great. I think it's Michiru Yamane who did Street Fighter 2, I want to say, and other games. I could be mixing it up. Great soundtrack. Fun game. Bloodlines is very, very good too. So then we have Kid Dracula. That's a Game Boy game. You kind of play as Alucard. I think it's Alucard. Some people say it isn't. You wake up, and you have to get your castle back. You get out of your castle, and then you have to fight this evil. After each stage, you get a different power. Like you have a homing fireball, a big fireball. You can flip up and walk on the ceilings. You can turn into a bat and fly. It doesn't really use those much, though. You can get away with 1 or 2 things, so it's kind of disappointing in that fact. The music's kind of cool. Pretty cool looking. It's the NES version. There's also the Game Boy version, which came out for the Game Boy that we only got in North America. This version was on the Famicom. The first time it was actually translated for this collection for North America and the rest of the world to play. So this is the first time it's translated when this was released in 2019, 2020, something like that. So that's cool. The Game Boy version is pretty much the same game with some differences to it. They're both pretty good. And then we have 2 Game Boy games on here, minus Legends. You have Castlevania the Adventure, and that is a very early Game Boy game. Came out around the launch in '89, I think. Very slow game, because I guess the screen wasn't good, so they wanted the character to be slow so you'd see him at all times. That makes jumping very, very, very hard. So the thing about this game is you have to play it and play it and play it, especially the 3rd stage, I think, where it's a scrolling auto-scroller with spikes coming at you. You have to get your jumps down perfectly, 1 bad miss, and you got to start the part over. So I was surprised how well I did in this. I did use save states, but I did beat this game before on the original Game Boy hardware, on a Super Game Boy. And I think that helped a lot, because I used save states this time, and I did die a lot on that part, but not nearly as much as I did when I played it on the Game Boy. I think that part I played so much that even 2 or 3 years later, I could remember, or a year or 2 later, I could remember exactly what to do on that level. If you play this game, it's like, I think, the 3rd level where spikes start to rise. Create a save state during those parts. Like, I knew, okay, this part's hard, I'm going to save state it. This part's hard, I'm going to save state it. And I did that, and I got through it relatively good using save states. Despite its problems, and it does have problems, many, I do enjoy playing this game. The end boss with Dracula is tough, too, so I don't really care for that. But it has major flaws, but I do enjoy it. Probably one of the weaker ones on here. Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge was a sequel to that they improved his speed. He's still not a speedster, but he can move a lot better. You have sub-weapons, you have Holy Water and an Axe. It's very good up until the last 2 fights. I think there's a fight with Christopher, your son, who got kidnapped by Dracula, and he's brainwashed, and you have to fight him and snap him out of it. That's a tough fight, and then the Dracula fight is very tough. Those 2 parts, the challenge is pretty good up until those parts. The soundtrack on this, both these games are fantastic. So if you play these and these are too difficult, or I don't really like these ones that much because of the slow movement, listen to the soundtrack for these. They're pretty amazing. So yeah, this is it, and we'll take a look at the little stuff that they came with, like an instruction, not an instruction manual, but they kind of tell you like what's in the games. Yeah, Castlevania 1. The Start of a Legacy. Castlevania 2. Simon's second adventure, this time in RPG form. Castlevania 2, even if you hear bad things about that, give that a shot. Use a guide. It's worth playing to see how cool it is. I mean, it looks and sounds great. It's very atmospheric. Castlevania 3. Castlevania Resurrected for the Super Nintendo, Super Castlevania 4. Like I said, Super Castlevania 4 is one to start with if you're new to Castlevania. Castlevania Adventure. This ambitious title thrives on new hardware in intriguing ways. Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge. Christopher, you play as Christopher Belmont. I didn't say that. And your son Soloy Belmont was kidnapped. That's right. Not Christopher was kidnapped, but your son was kidnapped by Dracula. Bloodlines, which is also very good. I think Bloodlines is easier with Eric Lacard, so if you're having trouble, play with him. Okay, Dracula, you see this is the Famicom version for the first time. Translated. In America, and you have a little notes section. So yeah, this is very worth it. If you're curious about Castlevania, or you like if you remember playing Castlevania and you haven't played other ones and you're kind of curious, this goes on sale a lot for $10. I just wanted the retail physical copy, so I waited. But yeah, it's very much worth it if you like Castlevania or curious. So that's all the I also beat some Virtual Console or games that I beat again. So I beat 3 Virtual Console, or 2 Virtual Console games and 1 PlayStation Network game, and I replayed another game in a different way. So let's see. So you're not just looking at the screen here. Let's see if I can add a little picture while I talk. No, I'll just talk about them. So I was going to add a picture of each one, but... So, the first game I replayed was on the Virtual Console, was Castlevania Wii Virtual Console, was Castlevania Rondo of Blood. And that is a Turbo CD Castlevania game that only came out in Japan. It was later put on the Wii Virtual Console and also put on the Castlevania Dracula X Chronicles on the PlayStation, which it was the first time I played it was on the PlayStation Portable, which it came out on. This is the Wii Virtual Console release. Castlevania Rondo's Blood takes the multiple paths from Castlevania 3. It adds like another character you can find, Maria, who makes playing the game easier. She has like a double jump. She controls better. She has a ranged weapon. It also has different endings if you get all the maidens. Very fun game. Very hard because I'm not as familiar with it, but as I played it, I got better and better. And there's one path in particular, the hidden path, that's very hard. I think it's available on the PSP and the Castlevania Dracula X Chronicles collection, along with Symphony of the Night and Symphony of the Night. It has the original game unlockable as well, so you can play either the remake Polygon 2D 0.5D version or the original, as well as Symphony of the Night. The next one I played is Euphoria the Saga. So that is a Sunsoft game that only came out in Europe or in Japan, I think. It has great music. You basically play as a guy who loses his 3 best friends, and you have to... something happens to them, you fight them, and then they can join you. They have different abilities. Like one can go walk underwater, one can float on top of the water, and I forget what the other one does. But it's kind of like you have a map, you get different abilities. It's like Metroid, basically. It's very fun, not too long. It's very, very fun. It's called Euphoria the Saga. The next one I played was Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which came out on Switch, PS4, Xbox. And that was, I talked about Curse of the Moon earlier. Ritual of the Night is basically the 2D Symphony of the Night Metroid style successor to Castlevania. Castlevania, those type of games. This time I played it as Bloodless mode. You play by entering Bloodless as your name, and you start as Bloodless, one of the bosses at the beginning of the castle, and you work your way down. It's a lot more streamlined. You don't have to worry about quests and all this stuff. You just worry about finding hidden walls to increase your abilities and increase your attack power, life, defense, stuff like that. So I kind of like it maybe a little bit more than the original Bloodstained, because there's not all these quests and everything going at you. It's just basically, here's a castle, explore it, find upgrades, that's it. Gain your levels, there's no quest to go on and all that stuff. Don't have to worry about getting shards and all that stuff. I really like playing it as Bloodless mode. If you never played Bloodless mode in Ritual of the Night, it was a downloadable thing they added. Try it out. Type in Bloodless on as your name. I also played through 1985 mode on Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. So what that is, so when you enter Classic mode, so they updated Bloodstained Ritual of the Night with Classic mode, which is basically a 2D Castlevania type platformer in 8 bits. Those type of games where it's deliberate jumping and stuff. They added it called Classic mode. I played through that when it was released and quite enjoyed it. But then they released 1985 mode, which makes it even stricter. So to access it, you access Classic mode, and I think you enter a code, and then it'll say 1985. It'll change the color, and then you'll be in that mode. So it restricts you in that you're limited in your jumping. You have to commit. You can't fire a sub-weapon while you're crouched, and you don't have a slide. So it makes it even more difficult. But I quite enjoyed that too, and that's Bloodstained Ritual of the Night Bloodless mode. You start by entering Bloodless as your name, and Bloodstained Ritual of the Night Classic mode, and 1985 Classic mode, which you use by entering a code. I wish I could remember the code to do 1985 mode. Um, 1986 mode it's called. Okay. Okay, so choose extra mode from the game's menu, and then choose classic mode on that screen. Press up, up, down, down, left, then right. So it's up, down, down, left, then right. Then if you're on Switch, press Y, then A. So it's basically you choose classic, then on the screen that comes up, hit up, up, down, down, left, right, then Y and A if you're on the Switch, or X, then B on the Xbox, or circle, or square and circle on the PlayStation. And then 1986 appears at the bottom of the screen. So that's how you get that if you want even more challenging classic mode. And I think that is everything. Sorry for the lack of a background or anything, but I wanted to talk about those games for a while, or for a bit, because I did finish them. Oh, there is one more I finished, and that's Strider for PlayStation Network. It's a digital game on the PlayStation Network. Went on sale around November or in October around Halloween for $3.99. I gotta say, this is one of the best $3.99 I ever spent on a game. Strider 2014, I think, is a retelling of the Strider game on NES mixed with the Genesis and PlayStation Strider 2, Strider 1 and Strider 2. It's a Metroid game. You start off, it's very fast. You just slash through people. You get upgrades to access different areas. Big map, great music. It has a remix of the NES game. So Strider on NES is probably not one of my favorite. I enjoy Strider. I'm not saying it's one of my favorite. I enjoy Strider on NES. It has a good remix of that music, which I really love. If you like Metroid Dread, and you played Metroid Dread, and you say, I want more, pick up Strider on PSN. I think you'll quite enjoy it. And that's everything I played for September, October. Quite a bit. I hope everybody has a great winter, and it's getting close to Christmas, so have a great Christmas if you celebrate that. And I will see you in a month or so for what I beat for November and December. Have a great day.